Okay, so ready to dive into another legendary hotel.
Always up for a luxurious adventure.
This time we're heading to London to uncover the secrets of a hotel that's hosted royalty, movie stars, even literary giants.
Sounds intriguing.
The Savoy.
Ah, the Savoy. A name synonymous with elegance and history.
Yeah, and we're going to explore what it's really like to stay there. From those opulent suites to maybe some quirky ghost stories, who knows?
I've heard whispers of a resident ghost cat.
Ooh, okay, we got to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
But first, like always, let's set the scene. Where exactly is the Savoy and what makes it so special, location-wise?
Well, imagine yourself in the heart of London, right on the Strand.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You step out of the Savoy and you're practically on the banks of the Thames.
Wow, prime real estate.
And within walking distance of iconic landmarks like the British Museum, Covent Garden, Royal Opera House.
Talk about a prime location. But
Right.
the Savoy isn't just about what's around it, right? It's about the history within those walls.
Absolutely. This hotel has been a silent observer to over a century of history. Opened in 1889.
Wow, that's before even, like, the Titanic.
Right. It's seen it all, from royalty and politicians to Hollywood legends and literary giants.
I can only imagine the stories those walls could tell. Has it been updated at all?
Hmm.
Or is it all creaky floorboards and flickering gas lamps?
Don't worry, it's definitely kept up with the times. They completed a massive restoration back in 2010, like 220 million pounds worth of restoration.
That's a serious renovation.
Yeah, but the incredible thing is they managed to modernize everything while still preserving that Edwardian and Art Deco character.
Okay, so you get that blend of modern comfort with that historical elegance. I
Right.
love that. Now I'm picturing myself walking into this grand lobby, but eventually I need a room. What kind of rooms are we talking about here?
Well, at the Savoy, you're definitely spoiled for choice. They have everything from those cozy, superior rooms to, like you said, those lavish suites fit for, well, royalty. But one of the first choices you'll face is deciding between Edwardian or Art Deco style.
Ooh, that's a tough one. So not just the size, but the era you want to experience. I'm guessing the styles has some pretty distinct features.
Definitely. Edwardian rooms have that classic romantic feel. Rich colors, ornate details, luxurious fabrics.
Sounds cozy.
Imagine a plush carpets, maybe a mahogany four-poster bed.
Okay, I'm feeling very royal already.
Mhm.
What about Art Deco?
Think geometric patterns, bold colors, sleek lines, and a little bit of Hollywood sparkle.
Sounds more modern.
Right. You might find mirrored surfaces, chrome accents, maybe even a cocktail bar in your room.
Okay, a cocktail bar in the room, that's definitely a level up. But let's say I'm not exactly, rolling in cash. Are there ways to experience the Savoy without totally breaking the bank?
Of course. Booking.com often has great deals and promotions, especially if you travel during off-peak season.
However,
And remember, by using the link in our episode description, you're not only getting a potentially better deal, you're also supporting the show.
win-win. Okay, so Booking.com is our friend. But beyond online deals, any other ways to make a Savoy stay a little more budget-friendly?
Definitely consider the shoulder season. You'll often find lower rates then, and you might even have a more intimate experience with fewer crowds.
Good point. And speaking of crowds, let's talk about views. I'm guessing some rooms offer a better view than others.
Absolutely. If you want a wake up to the Thames, request a river-facing room.
A must.
It might cost a little extra, but it's totally worth it for that incredible view, especially at night when the city lights are all twinkling.
Okay, that's going straight to the top of my wish list. But before we get too lost in the views, there's something else that really sets the Savoy apart. That legendary butler service.
Ah, yes. The Savoy Butler is more than just a gimmick. It's a personalized experience that takes luxury to a whole other level. Think of it as having a personal assistant dedicated to making your every wish come true.
Hold on, seriously. Like a real-life Jeeves. What exactly does this butler do?
Picture this. You arrive at the Savoy, exhausted from your travels. Your butler greets you with a warm smile, takes your luggage, escorts you to your room, unpacks your bags, presses your clothes, maybe even draws you a bath.
Okay, I'm already sold. But let's say I need something a little, unique. Can the butler handle that?
Absolutely. They're like a concierge, personal shopper, and magician all rolled into one. They can arrange dinner reservations at the hottest spots, tickets to sold-out shows, even find you that rare bottle of wine you've been searching for.
Wow, they sound like they can handle pretty much anything. But, there have to be limits, right?
Of course, there are limits. They're not miracle workers, but they are incredibly resourceful. dedicated to fulfilling your needs within reason. So maybe they can't grant you wishes or, turn lead into gold, but they'll definitely try to make your stay as magical as possible.
Okay, so we've got these incredible rooms, breathtaking views, and butler service that sounds like something out of a fairy tale. But we did hear a little something about peeling wallpaper.
Right. There have been some whispers about those little imperfections, like that peeling wallpaper.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what do we really value in a luxury hotel? Is it all about that perfect polish? Or can we appreciate a little imperfection, especially in a historic building like the Savoy?
It's a good question. I mean, some might say, look, you're paying top dollar. You should expect everything to be flawless.
Yeah, you'd expect a certain level of, perfection for that price. But then again, there's something to be said for preserving those marks of time, those little imperfections that tell a story, like an antique, with a little bit of wear and tear.
Exactly. The Savoy is over 130 years old. There's bound to be some signs of age. The question is, how do you balance preserving that history with, modernizing things? Do you erase all traces of the past, or do you embrace those imperfections as part of the hotel's character?
It's a tricky balance for sure. And speaking of imperfections, we also heard that the American bar, one of the Savoy's most famous features, might be showing its age a little.
Yeah, one source mentioned noticing things like fraying carpets and ripped wallpaper in the American bar.
Really? That's surprising for, the oldest surviving cocktail bar in Britain. I mean, it's a legend. You'd think they'd keep it in tip-top shape.
Maybe they're planning a refurbishment, but want to keep as much of that original character as possible. Or maybe they think those little imperfections add to the bar's charm.
I can see that. Part of the appeal of the American bar is that sense of history, right?
Yeah.
You want to feel like you're stepping back in time, having a drink with, Hemingway or Churchill.
Right, like those worn leather seats and tarnished barware are all part of the story. But I do think it's a balance. You want to preserve the history, but not at the expense of comfort and elegance.
Definitely. It's about finding that sweet spot where history meets modern luxury. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about something a little more, fun. Those quirky little details that make the Savoy unique. Like, remember that adorable cat statue, Casper?
Oh, yes, Casper the cat, the Savoy's official 14th guest.
Right. More than just a cute decoration, it's a symbol of the hotel's, blend of tradition with a little bit of whimsy.
Exactly. You see, there's this superstition about having 13 guests at a dinner party. It's considered bad luck.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
And apparently, back in the late 1800s, a diamond magnate was hosting a dinner for 13 guests at the Savoy, and someone canceled last minute.
Uh-oh. So did they just call the whole thing off out of fear?
Nope. To avoid any potential tragedy, the Savoy had a staff member dine with parties of 13, just to make sure there was always a 14th guest.
Wow, talk about going above and beyond. But I'm guessing that wasn't the most practical solution long term.
You're right. So in 1927, they introduced Casper, this charming cat statue, to act as the permanent 14th guest. Problem solved.
That's brilliant. It's those little things that add so much character to the Savoy. And speaking of character, what about that ascending room?
The original electric lift from 1889.
Imagine how many people have ridden that thing. It's like a little time machine.
It is. And it's not just about the history, it's about the experience. Stepping into this beautifully preserved lift, all that polished brass and ornate detail.
Yeah, it's like a mini adventure within the hotel itself. But eventually, you're going to want to explore beyond the Savoy's walls, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of adventures await in the surrounding area?
Well, remember, you're right in the heart of London's theatre district, so catching a show in Covent Garden is a must. Or take a stroll along the Thames. You can see Big Ben, Houses of Parliament.
And for a bit of culture, we could pop over to the British Museum.
Exactly. It's just a short walk away. You could spend days in there exploring all the incredible artifacts, from Egyptian mummies to the Rosetta Stone.
Okay, adding all of this to my must-do list. And after a day of sightseeing, we're going to need to refuel. What about dining options at the Savoy?
Well, of course, there are the Gordon Ramsay restaurants, the Savoy Grill, the River Restaurant for seafood, and the more intimate restaurant 1890 for modern French cuisine.
The foodie's paradise. But I'm also thinking about something a little more, quintessentially London. Afternoon tea at the Savoy.
Of course. It's a must. They do it in the Thames foyer. Picture this. Soaring ceilings, glittering chandeliers, live piano music. It's quite the experience.
Okay, I can already taste those tiny sandwiches and scones.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we're in the mood for something bitter, more, hearty?
Don't forget about Simpson's in the Strand, a British institution famous for their traditional roasts. They even have a carving trolley.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Sadly, it's closed for renovations right now,
Oh, no.
but it should be open again soon.
Fingers crossed. So speaking of, saving a few pounds, let's talk about those Booking.com deals again. Are there any specific types of packages or promotions that offer particularly good value at the Savoy?
Definitely look out for packages that include things like dining credits or spa treatments. You get those little extras without having to spend a fortune.
Smart. A little pampering never hurts. But beyond those packages, any other, secret tips? Things that can elevate a Savoy experience from good to unforgettable.
Here's a little insider tip. If you're celebrating something special, let the hotel know ahead of time.
Good idea.
The Savoy loves to make those occasions memorable. Maybe a complimentary bottle of champagne, a note from the manager, or even a little surprise waiting in your room.
I love those little touches. Makes you feel so special. Any other insider advice before we move on?
If you're looking for a truly unique, luxurious experience, check out their personality suites.
Oh, yeah, like the Winston Churchill suite.
Exactly. They're designed to reflect the style of the famous people they're named after. It's like getting a glimpse into their world.
So cool. Imagine staying in the Churchill suite, surrounded by his favorite books and things.
Right. And each suite comes with its own perks. Like the Churchill suite has a private butler's pantry stocked with all of his favorite drinks and snacks.
Okay, I need to experience that. But as much as I love the luxurious stuff, I'm also curious about the people. We've heard so much about the Savoy staff. What makes them so special?
Consistently praised for their service, impeccable professionalism, but also that genuine warmth, attentive without being intrusive, efficient, but not robotic.
It's hard to find that balance. Did any of our sources have specific interactions with the staff that really stood out?
One reviewer who booked a special river suite experience for New Year's Eve was really impressed with the head butler, Sean Devoren.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him. Apparently, he's like a bit of a celebrity himself.
Right. This reviewer described him as incredibly attentive and personable, made them feel completely at ease, offered to unpack their bags, press their clothes, gave them personalized recommendations.
It's those little things that make such a big difference. Makes you feel like more than just a guest.
Exactly, like you're part of the Savoy family. Okay, so we've talked about the history, the rooms, the restaurants, the service, even those quirky little details like Casper the Cat. But before we wrap up this part of our Savoy deep dive, let's get practical. How much does all this cost? We know it's a splurge, but are there any hidden costs our listeners should be aware of?
Good point. One source mentioned a few extra charges that surprised them, like parking was £60 for 24 hours.
Wow.
And there was an accommodation service charge of over £33.
Okay, so definitely factor that in when you're budgeting. Those extras can add up quickly. Anything else?
Same source mentioned needing a babysitter for their kid, which was £75 an hour, with a 4-hour minimum.
Ouch. That's a serious hit to the budget. So the room rate might seem like the big expense, but don't forget about those extra costs. They can really sneak up on you. But let's go back to Booking.com for a sec. We know they have good deals, but anything specific our listeners should look for when booking the Savoy?
Remember those special packages, especially around holidays or special events? They can offer really good value. Right. Often include meals or spa treatments, things like that.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to use the filters on Booking.com. You can narrow down your search by price, room type, amenities, even guest ratings.
Those filters are lifesavers. I get so overwhelmed with too many options.
Me too. And remember, read those guest reviews. They can give you a much better idea of what to really expect.
Yeah, those reviews are gold. More helpful than any fancy brochure. Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our Savoy deep dive, I have a question for you.
Shoot.
We've talked about the history, the rooms, the restaurants, the staff, even the cat. But what do you think is the most important thing that makes the Savoy so special? What's their secret sauce, so to speak?
That's a good one. It's hard to pick just one thing, but I think it's their ability to blend tradition with innovation.
Interesting. How so?
They've been around for over 130 years. They've seen it all. But they've never lost sight of those core values: exceptional service, attention to detail, that commitment to creating a truly memorable experience.
True. They've adapted without losing what made them famous in the first place.
Right. And they're always finding new ways to, elevate the guest experience, whether it's through their restaurants, their themed suites, or their facilities.
It's like they're constantly trying to be the best, but without forgetting where they came from.
Exactly. That's what sets the Savoy apart. It's where you can experience the charm and elegance of the past, combined with the luxury and innovation of the present. Pretty special, right?
I think we've covered quite a bit in this part of our Savoy deep dive.
Yeah, we've talked about the staff, the costs, even shared some Booking.com tips. But like any good deep dive, there's always more to discover.
Exactly. So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll wrap up our exploration of the Savoy and leave you with some final thoughts and maybe a question to ponder. So we've journeyed through the Savoy's past, explored its unique features, and even uncovered some insider tips. But the big question remains, is it actually worth the splurge?
Ah, the million-dollar question. And the answer, well, like most things, it depends.
Yeah, I figured there wasn't going to be a simple yes or no, but let's break it down. What are we really paying for when we book a stay at the Savoy?
Well, on one hand, you're paying for a piece of history. It's not just a hotel, it's an icon. A place where royalty and celebrities have stayed for over a century.
Right, it's like stepping back in time.
Exactly. You're surrounded by that sense of glamour and intrigue.
But beyond the history, what else justifies, that price tag?
You're also paying for that impeccable service, those top-notch amenities, and an attention to detail that's really hard to find anywhere else. Those butler service suites, the award-winning restaurants, those little touches that make you feel, well, like royalty.
Okay, I see the appeal. But not everyone has, a bottomless bank account.
Right.
If someone is on the fence about the Savoy because of the cost, what would you say to convince them?
I'd ask them to think about what they value in a travel experience. Do they want a generic hotel stay they'll forget the next day, or do they want something truly unique and memorable? The Savoy offers an immersion in history, culture, luxury. It's an investment in an experience that'll stay with you long after you check out.
I love that. It's about creating those lasting memories. So let's say our listener is convinced. They're ready to book that dream trip to the Savoy. Any final tips to make the most of their experience?
Absolutely. Embrace those imperfections. Remember that peeling wallpaper. Think of it as part of the charm, a reminder you're staying in a place with a rich and layered past.
Right. Appreciate the history, even the quirks.
And don't be afraid to ask for what you want. The Savoy staff is incredible. If you have a special request or need anything, just ask. They'll go above and beyond to make sure you have a fantastic stay.
Great advice. Be proactive, make the most of those resources.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Remember, the Savoy is more than just a place to sleep. It's a destination in itself. Take some time to explore its unique features. The ascending room, Casper the Cat, that afternoon tea, have a cocktail at the American bar. Soak it all in.
Beautifully said. Well, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the Savoy. From its history and luxury to those quirky little details, we've covered it all.
It's been a fun journey. Hopefully, we've inspired some of our listeners to add the Savoy to their travel bucket list.
Me too. And if you are ready to book that dream trip, don't forget to check out the link to Booking.com in the episode description. They have some great deals, and you'll be supporting our show at the same time.
And that support allows us to keep bringing you these deep dives into the world's most fascinating places.
So until next time, happy travels, everyone.